Over the past few episodes, I've ridden and reviewed quite a few small bore or small capacity motorcycles, and this is a segment, in my opinion, not to be overlooked. The reason I say that, first of all, with the price of fuel as it is going today, these economical bikes make a lot of sense. They're cheap and practical. On top of that, commuting, saving a lot of time, especially here in South Africa where we have load shedding and traffic lights not working. These things are light, nimble, you can split traffic, save a lot of time, so really practical. On top of that, a lot of technology that's developed on the bigger bikes is finding its way down onto these smaller bikes. So all round, value for money, practical, and just a whole lot of fun, not to be overlooked. On the adventure side of things, I've reviewed the KTM 390 Adventure when it comes to small bore bikes. I've had a look and reviewed the Kawasaki X300, the Versus. Now here behind me today, I have another adventure bike. A tiny little thing, the G310 GS, Indian manufactured motorcycle. But if you just look at it, it does not look like a baby bike or small capacity bike. It looks good, its stance is great, overall looks, I really like it. So in this episode, let's delve in, let me have a look at the specs of this motorcycle, the build quality, take you for a ride, and let's discuss how good this bike really is. Now here in front of us is the 2023 G310 GS. Now all these funny letters, for those of you who don't know, the GS has always been the model designation for BMW's adventure motorcycles. In German, Gelände Sport, which is off-road sport, or in English, the gentleman Scrambler. And then when you talk about the G310, that first letter G in front of the CC always refers to the piston layout. If you have an S1000, S stands for inline 4-cylinder. If it's an R1250, the R refers to a boxer motor layout. The F is a twin, a parallel twin, and the G refers to a single motor. So G310 tells you it's a single piston, 310 is the CC, GS is the adventure motorcycle. Now this entry level into the adventure motorcycles for BMW was introduced in 2018. It then got an update and a facelift in 2021, and here for 23-24 pretty much unchanged. Now let's get into the motor and the specs. Here we have this Indian produced motorcycle as a joint venture for BMW. It is a 4-stroke single-cylinder liquid-cooled 313cc, 4 valves per cylinder, double overhead cam, wet sump. Now 34 horsepower, which is 25 kilowatts at 9,250 RPM, and a really good 28 Newton meters at 7,500 RPM. Newton meter on this is really good because that's where you'll be riding this motorcycle. Otherwise you'll be high up screaming in the revs. Clutch, multi-disc oil bath anti-hopping clutch. Final drive is a chain, not a shaft drive on this, and a 6-speed gearbox. When we go to the forks, the front forks, as you can see, are inverted 41mm forks with a travel of 180 millimeters, which is really nice travel for an entry adventure bike. A dual aluminium swing arm at the back, monoshock in the center, also 180mm travel. So 180mm travel front and rear. When you go to the wheels, you have a 19 inch in front and a 17 inch at the rear. Nice little cast aluminium wheel mag layout. The front wheel 19 inch shot with 110, the rear wheel 17 inch shot with a 150. Brakes, if you have a look, the front has a single disc up front, which I think is pretty practical here, 300mm in diameter, and 4-piston fixed caliper, ABS up front, and at the back also a single disc, much smaller, a 240mm single piston floating with ABS as well. Weight on this bike, and I think that is the beauty of this bike, you're talking 175 kilograms, dry weight, seat height 833. And this is where it's really a good combination. A bike like this, whether you're a person of smaller stature and you don't want to tippy toe and feel uncomfortable or scary on a bike like this, adventure bikes are normally quite tall, or you're a novice to riding, or you're just getting older and you don't want to muscle around the heavy bikes, this is an absolutely practical bike. And I think the combination of 833 seat height and 175 kilograms is a good combination for an entry adventure bike, also a commuter. Top speed is 160 kilometers an hour rated. We haven't checked that yet, but also you won't be a moving target. You won't get too many speeding fines, but very practical for commuting. Fuel capacity is 11.5 liters with a 1 liter reserve. You would think maybe a little bit small. However, the consumption is 3.5 liters per 100, or else 28.6 kilometers per liter. So you would see that you get quite a nice range with this economy and the small tank. The smaller tank high up also makes the bike top heavy, so smaller tank with an economical motor makes good sense on this. When it comes to the lighting on this bike, all round LED. I mean, if you have a look, the front, you have LED lighting. If you flick on the indicators, you have the LED on the indicators, taillight indicator. Your dash is an LCD, not a TFT. If we come around here, you can see it's LCD. USB port. You have these tiny little handlebar risers over here, so gives a nice high, comfortable, you don't have to lean forward. If you look, the handlebars come slightly back. Throttle is ride-by-wire and adjustable brake and clutch levers. This would really nice if you have smaller hands or so. So I think everything is catered for on this motorcycle. As mentioned earlier, opposition to this tiny little adventure bike would be the KTM 390 Adventure or the Versys X300 by Kawasaki. Both of them I have reviewed. They each have their own little quirks or pros or cons to it. For example, Kawasaki is a little, very tiny little piston parallel twin. This is a single, more like the KTM. Now, if we look at colors, you have the Cosmic Black color. You have this particular one, which is the Sport Polar White with the Racing Blue and red. Then you have the Kalamata Dark Gold Metallic, which is more of a classy look. I think this is very cool because it's the BMW colors. It looks sporty, and the whole stance with that peak up on top, little mudguard, very BMW look-alike. So, all right, I think let's jump onto it. Let's have a look at the sound and see what it's all about. All right, now starting this bike up, you can see the LCD display. One thing I've noticed with the display, it actually takes forever to come up, and I think if you're commuting or you're in a rush, here it is up now. It could be a little bit annoying, but other than that, all the information is displayed nicely. If we listen to that exhaust note, also you can hear it's a small capacity motorcycle, small bore, but let's go ride it and have some fun. You can hear the motor. It is definitely a small capacity bike, but a lot of fun running it up to 60 and even 100. After then it does slow down the acceleration, but light bike, nimble bike, fun bike. I'm sitting extremely comfortable. One thing I've noticed, that the brakes are not that sharp, so I don't know if it's new brakes, new bikes, they need to bed themselves in a little bit, but if you grab firmly a handful, yes, you have some brakes on it, but you have to be very firm with these brakes. You can see nimble, perky to get up to flow of traffic, works really well. The clutch lever, it has a positive feel to it. The gearbox is a little bit on the notchy side, but ergonomically I cannot fault this bike. I'm sitting upright, extremely comfortable. These bumpy roads, undulations, suspension is soaking up. If you have a look, my seated position, I'm perfectly upright. These tiny little handlebar raisers bring the handlebars up, they a little bit back to me. If you have a look, my knees sit nicely legs, thighs slope down, comfortable, foot pegs high enough to have a sporty feel. Just overall ergonomically super comfortable, no complaints on that one. The clutch has a positive feel, it's not sloppy, and the gearbox is a little bit on the clunky side, but also I think no real complaints. You know if you're in the gear or were to hit a false neutral. The throttle, as an advanced driver, you can really wring its neck and have some fun. It's a perky little motor, 0 to 60, a lot of fun, and again, ergonomics brilliant, suspension brilliant, a lot of fun, light, nimble, you can throw it around whatever the condition of the road, all round great. ABS important with these back roads, loose gravel, fun bike, first impressions. I am going to run it on the highway, see how she performs. The not TFT, my apologies. The LCD display is small, maybe a little bit on the old school side of things, but I think this bike is more about value for money, cost effective. So screen is perfect. It tells you the time, it tells you the RPM, it tells you the speed nice and big, kilometers, range, fuel, everything is on there, even a gear indicator. I mean, on these old bikes that we learned to ride, there was never gear indicators. So even as a novice, it's fun, and if you're doing off-road, also nice to look down, see what you're in. Fun. We'll do some lane splitting, we'll get onto the highway, just really use this bike wherever we can. The brakes definitely needs a firm pull on it. They are strong enough, however it's not one of those two-finger braking or feather the brakes. I'm finding that the brakes, you really have to grab firmly, pretty much like the throttle. You grab a handful and you go for it, and you can see lane splitting, getting to the front, no problem. It's not gonna scare you in traffic, which is great as well. Here you go, firm pull on the brake and it does work. Bit of a roll on, as you can see, no one's leaving me behind, and we get up to illegal speeds very quickly, and traffic light caught us again. I think we will go onto the highway after this. We sneak in over here, and that's the beauty of these little commuters. You make up a lot of time. And getting onto the highway, let's see what our speed is as we join the highway. Alright, 110 came up very quickly, and 117, 119, here we go, and I already have to slow down. So acceleration is good. I hit my 120 by the time the end of the on-ramp. Here we go, acceleration. I mean, really, it's if you're expecting the top speeds of one of the bigger bikes like a GS, the F900, or you're talking a GS 1250, no, that's not what it is. This is the budget bike, the entry level 310, and it's a cool little runner. The vibrations, I must say, there's a lot of vibrations. At 120 you feel them through the foot pegs and the handlebars. A lot of vibrations that could give you pins and needles, some tingling, but I don't think this bike is for cruising. I mean, here 135, the bike is going great, it's running. Vibrations, I would say, after 120 definitely come through. You could get a bit of pins and needles or tingling feeling in your fingertips and feet. I don't know if that's normal or just this bike, but definitely noticeable. Take the off ramp here, and
You can see bike tracks nicely, confidence inspiring, no wobbles, no worries, you roll it on. I mean, for what it is, it's stunning and it feels solid. There's nothing rattling or wobbling around on this bike. It's well finished. I like next to the dash, the plastic's nicely finished off. I mean, if you've put a bigger screen, should it rain or drizzle a little bit, but you even warns you if the indicators are on, the visibility of the rear view mirrors, you look past your shoulders. So it's a great look and feel, solid, you know, it looks great. And with these handlebar risers, I can't stand up. I'm leaning forward a little bit, but I think it's a stunning entry level into adventure riding, also getting used to a little bit of riding off the beaten track. It's something that's not too heavy, not gonna scare you. If I stand, you can see both my feet are flat on the floor, knees are bent, so you feel like you're in charge, you're in control of this motorcycle. It's not a case of you tippy toe and you're throwing it left to right. If you're looking for the side stand, you don't feel like you're gonna throw the bike over because you're leaning it to one side. Here we're in traffic, you've got good visibility, you're sitting upright, you're not going to get fatigued, and everything happens. The throttle is definitely predictable, how much throttle input and what response you get out of it. Now if we hit that speed bump a little bit faster, how does it soak up the suspension? Here we go, it flies over it. So I must say, I don't have too many complaints on a bike like this. Once you know what you're in for or what you're purchasing, you get quite a bit of value for money, in my opinion. It's not that you feel cheated. However, if you think you're going to get a super bike, that's not the case. But a very practical, everyday motorcycle that you can commute with, you can throw around in traffic, save time to get to appointments, something on weekends that you can hone your skills if you want to enter the adventure lifestyle, if you want to get into it and learn properly without scaring yourself. You start on one of these, hone your skills, and then you step up. BMW has all of them, all the way to a 750, 850, all the way, and you end at the now 1300 GSs. Stunning machines. The build quality, even though it's made in India, is definitely a BMW motorcycle. It does feel solid, well built.
So here you have it, the BMW G310 GS, the entry level into adventure biking by BMW. For me, stunning little bike, ticks all the boxes. It's fuel economical, it's light, it's nimble, it's good for commuting, good for lane splitting, traffic, and all round value for money, practical motorcycle, everyday use. Now, if you enjoyed this episode with me, guys, please remember, hit that like button, give me a thumbs up. But most important of all, please help me build the channel by hitting the subscribe button. And if you like, the reminder bell so you always know when I'm uploading something new.